St. Augustine says this about life. This is the business of our life, by effort and by toil, by prayer and supplication, to advance in the grace of God, till we come to that height of perfection, in which with clean hearts we may behold God. Lately, I've been reflecting on how short, how fragile life is. In the last couple of weeks, we've just had a series of practical misfortunes and also sickness. Um, I got a bad gum infection, and so there was just a lot of migraines and pain that came with that. Anyways, all of it happened, all of the practical, all of the sickness, all the physical ailments happened all within the same time. And I remember one of the evenings while we were praying the rosary, I was just in tears, thankful that I wasn't in so much pain, and just able to kneel down to pray the rosary without having this awful migraine happening. As well, I was just incredibly grateful that I was able to hold my children because of the gum infection that I had. I had a lot of migraines, and for several days, I would be up in bed, sleeping, resting, closing my eyes, um, trying to get better. And naturally, that results in not spending a lot of time with the kids because the kids are downstairs, things are noisy, things like that. But in that time, the thing that I missed the most was holding my children. And that just brought a fresh perspective to when things were better and I was feeling better. Because in those moments where you realize how short your life is and how you don't have a lot of time, it really brings to light your priorities and what's important to you. And more, I've become more convicted that the most important thing to me in my life is to have a joyful, loving, peaceful, warm home. And for me to be an incredibly happy, joyful, warm, and loving mother. And often that gets compromised when there's too much going on, when I'm taking on too much, when as a family maybe we're committing to too many things, or I'm going outside of my home to serve or do other things or take on other hobbies or whatever that might be. And as our family grows and hopefully continues to grow, I'm more acutely aware to just where my time is spent and the things that I want to give my children, the attention I want to give them, the intentionality, the skills I want to cultivate, the character I want to build within them takes a lot of time and energy. And because of that, I have to be extremely selective and particular and picky about what I'm spending my time on because the day is not very long at all. And our time with our children, especially at this age, is really not that long either. It's extremely short. And I have read in quite a few books about raising children that the first 6 years are incredibly important when it comes to their spiritual lives, cultivating within them a relationship with our Lord and Our Lady. And I see that very tangibly. I understand that, you're still going to have them. I'm still going to have my children in my life at least for another decade, hopefully, God willing. In this particular stage where they're so innocent, prior to them being age of reason, where they're just so innocent, where they're receptive, where they're such sponges soaking up these just little details about the saints' lives, or just even things I say about our Lord and Our Lady offhandedly and how they offhanded, and they just totally, just speak them sometimes when they're playing or when in conversation, and you just are shocked at the little details that they remember. You become just so aware of how how much in this season of their lives and of life when your children are really little, how precious that is, how fleeting it is. And so lately that's been just something that's been upon my heart of really just taking a really particular look at my life and assessing what is really important? Like, what's my duty and what's my call here? Obviously, there are times and seasons where you maybe, yeah, feel called or are called to be doing something outside your home for a bit or serving another person or, a retirement home or somebody comes into your life. There are seasons for that. I'm not saying that. But that majority of the time and most of the time, you're called to this really quiet, ordinary, very focused, quiet life that you're living right now. And I think there is a restlessness that comes with that. I know that I experience sometimes that restlessness when I'm doing the same thing every day, and the same thing that I'm doing is really good, but there's a part of me that wonders, "Oh, should I be doing more? Oh, like, is this enough?" Sometimes I question myself, or you kinda drag your feet a bit about your life because it's so hidden and nobody sees what you're doing from day to day, and somebody out there, you hear about somebody doing some sort of ministry or, you listen to other people's podcasts or whatever that may be, and it just feels like, oh, their lives seem so much more exciting, so much more fruitful in other ways, so much more, like they're doing so much, and here you are just quietly making meals, praying with your kids, spending time with your spouse, doing laundry, picking up stuff around the house, and it seems so unglamorous, right? And that can be such a temptation, I think, to want to go outside your home or feel the need to do something more than what you're doing because you have this belief, this underlying belief, consciously or subconsciously, that what you're doing isn't enough or what you're doing isn't special. And I definitely fall into that in different seasons in my life where I'm doing the same things over and over again and I just feel so hidden and unseen. But then there are also moments where I'm saving the Lego underneath the couch for that special piece that my child needs. I'm making a yummy meal that day. I'm just in a good mood. I'm joyful. I'm happy to my husband to come home. Like that's like the highlight of my day. And I think, what more is there to life than this? And so I think about St. Augustine's quote because to pray and to toil and to work hard, like in a lot of ways, like what else is there in life? Like there can be such a temptation to think that there's more to life than that, or you being faithful to your vocation isn't enough, but it is. And the reality is actually not, it's not just enough. It's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And doing that extremely well takes a lot of intentionality, takes resilience, takes perseverance. And the reality is, I think that you're not going to see the fruits immediately. But I think where you're going to see it shine in particular, if you really devote your life to, being a good mother, being a good homemaker, forming your children well, you'll see it in the relationships you have with them when they're older, when hopefully, whether if they're called to married life, but even just when they're discerning their vocation at all, that they see you as somebody who took their vocation extremely seriously, and so they come to you with questions, with conversations about which where God is calling them. And I think you know even though those conversations aren't happening quite yet, though they do happen in their own small way, I just have to remind myself of those moments because I think I would trade up I would trade doing anything else to just have those moments, to just imagine my children when they're in their teens or close to their 20s or something like that, and just having the kind of relationship with them that I was available. They know that through their life that their mother was available, that I was intentional about my own life, and therefore they see me as a woman that they can come to get advice, to have these kinds of conversations with. Like to me, that's the ultimate win. I doubt that anything else that I do in terms of just like an ambition or hobbies or even like things that I create, the greatest thing that I've created in my life are my kids and this family. And more I've become more convicted of the doing this well. means taking out a lot, means paring down a lot. It's quiet, it's simple, it's life is comprised of just being faithful to your duty of the moment, and most of the time, your duty of the moment is just what's right in front of you. And again, not to say that you might not be called and we're not called to be doing stuff outside of ourselves. And I think that's good. I think those things are good and can be really good. But you always have to ask yourself what you're trading off. What's the trade off in pursuing or doing the thing outside of your primary duty of being a mother and a wife? Because you hear that a lot of the time where it's like, well, of course, my primary duty is being a wife and a mother. And when you don't have servants around, or you don't have family around, or you don't have extra help, it is primarily you. I mean, that doesn't leave a lot left in terms of what else you can do. At least definitely not in this season of life, I think, with kids and stuff. When your kids are really little. Anyways, that's its own conversation. Anyways, I'll save that for another time. I'll reflect on that more on another time. So I'll leave with you some questions to ponder. Am I truly prioritizing my vocation as wife and mother above all things? How can I use my gifts and talents to bring greater joy and beauty to my vocation? And what things in my life do I need to cut down or completely remove in order to make more room for the Lord and my family? Thanks for tuning in, friends. Till next time, God bless.